The NFL draft is just a couple days away. What we're going to do with this exercise is we're going to give you the best possible landing spots for players and the worst possible landing spots for players. And we're going to tell you where that would make them go in your rookie drafts. The format we're going to base this off of is 12 teams, Superflex, start 10, 1.75 in premiums, and 4-point passing touchdowns. Dak, what about Caleb?
Yeah, Caleb Williams, not really going to spend any time on him. He's the 101. He's going to Chicago. There's no worse landing spot than Chicago because that's where he's going to be. So he's a Chicago Bear. He's a 101. Next up is Jaden Daniels. His best landing spot is the Washington Commanders. All the draft odds point to him going there right now. If he ends up in Washington, he's going as high as the 103. We don't think he'll jump over Marv, but 103 is definitely the spot that he'll be taken. The worst landing spot for him is the Patriots. The Patriots have no weapons there right now. It would pretty much be Jaden Daniels just running around on his own. He'd probably rush for 1,000 yards there his rookie year, which would build good value for him. That's another topic, though. It's a bad landing spot for him, and I think at worst you could see him being drafted at the 105. You could see Malik Neighbors jumping over him, maybe JJ McCarthy if he goes to the Vikings. There's other guys that we think will go over Daniels, but because Daniels has that rushing floor already built in, like I said, he can run for a ton of yards if he goes to New England. He still will be drafted highly, which is fair because quarterbacks matter in these leagues. But 105, I think, is his absolute floor. We don't want to see him go to New England, but that's the worst case scenario.
Hey guys, real quick, we're going to give away a free roster review when we hit 200 subscribers. So if you want to enter that, subscribe and leave a comment. Now, back to the video.
Jeff, who do you want to talk about?
Next up, we have Drake May. His best landing spot would be the Minnesota Vikings. That's the dream scenario for him. We think he's the second best quarterback in this class. With him going into an offense, an immediate starting job as Sam Darnold's not really a threat. Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson, elite passing volume. Kevin O'Connell's a great coach. It would just be the perfect scenario for May to walk into. With this, we think he can get as high as the 102 if we don't like Marv's landing spot, just because of how much we love the Vikings landing spot for a quarterback. The worst landing spot for May would be the Patriots. They don't have much weapons. He doesn't have that rushing ability that we talked about with Daniels before, where he could kind of make it for himself. Before they get a receiver, it'll be really tough sledding there for Drake May from a fantasy point of view. So we really don't want him to go to the Patriots. We wouldn't love it. If he were to go to the Patriots, he would probably fall to at worst the 105 in your rookie drafts. Dalt, who's your next guy we're going to talk about?
So next guy's going to be JJ McCarthy. JJ, just like Drake May, his best landing spot possible is the Vikings. If he goes to the Vikings, obviously we have fantastic coach, fantastic weapons. We said that already. We could see him going as high as the 104 in your rookie draft. That is very aggressive. We probably wouldn't take a 104, probably more 105, but we could definitely see someone in your league taking him at the 104. Worst possible landing spot would be the Broncos. If the Broncos manage to take him at 12, Broncos don't really have any decent offensive weapons. Sutton's probably leaving. We do like Sean Payton as a head coach, but the landing spot just isn't that good. We don't see the Broncos being an offensive powerhouse for many years, really. This would be quite unfortunate. And if he does go there, we could see him falling as far as the 109. That is pretty aggressive, but we could see him falling that far, even if he is a pretty high first-round pick. Dak, you want to talk about Bo Nix?
Yeah, so Bo Nix, I think most people view him pretty similarly as a prospect to Michael Penix, and I think the general thought process is that 5 quarterbacks will be taken in the first round pick. We think this is pretty aggressive for best case scenario landing spot, but the best case probably would be the Raiders at 13. If they were desperate enough to draft Nix here because they need a franchise guy at the quarterback position, we think that's a good landing spot for him. Obviously, you're getting that top 15 draft capital, which is very good for a quarterback, and then you have Devonta Adams and Jacoby Myers already in that offense, and he's going to get at least 2 years to try and fail or succeed. And again, the way that your leagues are formatted, quarterbacks are very important, so you can't pass up taking a guy with top 15 draft capital. We think if he was drafted to the Raiders, the highest he would go is the 110 in your rookie drafts. On the flip side, the worst possible landing spot for Bo Nix is a second round selection. If he goes in the second round, he's going in your second round of the rookie drafts, and he's becoming like an afterthought. He's probably not going to be a starter year one, and just looks like he'll be a backup for the rest of his career if he's drafted in the second round. So we don't want to see that for Bo Nix. Jeff, do you want to talk about Michael Penix?
Yeah, you kind of summed it up with Bo Nix. Same thing goes for Penix. High draft capital, you got to take him. We think that, again, 110, if he goes to the Raiders at 13, that would be his best landing spot. Second round, he could fall to somewhere in the second round of your rookie drafts. Dak pretty much summed up everything. Bo Nix and Michael Penix are very similar as of right now when it comes to draft capital in Dynasty because we don't know their draft capital in the actual draft. Dalton, you want to talk about Brock Bowers?
Yeah, so the only tight end we're going to talk about today is Brock Bowers, but he's a very exciting tight end. So his best possible landing spot is going to be the Chargers, would be a fantastic landing spot. There's no real weapons, so he would be an absolute monster there. We think, considering this is 1.75 tight end premium, the 105 is probably the highest he can go, which would, he'd probably be a really good 105, I will say, if he's on the Chargers. And the worst landing spot would be the Broncos. The Broncos take him at the 112. That would be quite unfortunate. They don't really have any plan at quarterback, it seems like. If he goes to the Broncos, he's still going to be the 108, as he's going to get the ball there and he's going to be used, which is fantastic. 1.75 10 premium, as we said. So at the latest 108, but hopefully it goes to the Chargers. That'd be much better. Dak, tell us about some wide receivers.
Yeah, we'll start off with Marvin Harrison, who is the top guy in this draft class at receiver. The best landing spot, people might disagree with this, but I'm going to say it is the Arizona Cardinals. I really like the passing volume in Arizona. I love Kyler Murray, just throwing him the ball all the time. There's no real other weapons in there besides Trey McBride. But I think it's wheels up for Marv if he goes to Arizona. The highest you're going to be taking him is the 102. I think he's already entrenched there right now. Most people are taking him in the 102 of your rookie drafts. But if he goes to Arizona, that kind of cements him there. I expect that to happen in real life. The worst spot for Marv would be the Patriots. The Patriots would be very rough. But they only have Jacoby Brissett at quarterback. Obviously, if they take Marv, they don't have a plan at quarterback besides Brissett for that next year. So it'd be pretty rough. You'd think they'd get a quarterback in the future, but it's really just undetermined. So we don't want to see Marv go to New England. I think he'd probably drop to the 103 of rookie drafts. He still is so talented. Now, having said all of that, Marv would still probably go at the 102 in your rookie drafts. It all depends how the other quarterbacks shake out. If someone gets that good landing spot like Drake May to the Vikings, he's going 102 over Marv, but most likely Marv could stay at the 102. It just depends what happens with those quarterbacks. He's still really talented, and we're very excited to see him play in the NFL.
And again, we're basing all these off of a 12-team format where in a 10-team, Marvin Harrison is probably still the pick at 102, even if Drake May is on the Vikings. So make sure you know your league context before making your rookie picks.
Okay, Jeff, do you want to talk about Malik Neighbors?
Yeah. Malik Neighbors, his best possible landing spot would be if Marv were to go to the Patriots. Then he would probably end up on the Cardinals at number 4 overall, which he'd have top 5 draft capital. Great receiver. Second receiver in this class would be a top receiver in any other class that didn't have Marvin Harrison. He would go as high as the 104 in your rookie drafts if he were to get that Cardinals landing spot. The worst possible landing spot for Malik Neighbors would be the Giants, and that's solely because of their poor quarterback play. He'll have a lot of volume as there's not much more target competition in that offense, but poor quarterback play obviously drags that down to be a crappy landing spot as people are really projecting him to be a high top 7, top 8 draft pick. And the only other option besides the Cardinals would be the Chargers, which would be another nice spot. He probably won't make it past the Giants as they need a receiver. Therefore, that's his worst landing spot. He would then fall to the 106 in our eyes if he were to be a Giant. Dalton, you want to tell us about Rome Odunze?
Yeah, so with Dunze, we don't think he could possibly go to the Cardinals. So his best landing spot is going to be the Chargers, and the Chargers, have him over Malik Neighbors on their draft boards. Chargers would be a fantastic landing spot. Justin Herbert doesn't have any weapons right now, so he's going to be throwing the ball to Dunze. Dunze's fantastic talent. We think he could go as high as the 106 on the Chargers, and that's a very good 106 money add. Like that's a fantastic 106 on Dunze on the Chargers. The worst landing spot, there's a couple options here. We went with the Titans. They don't have fantastic quarterback play with Will Levis, and they also have a pretty crowded wide receiver room with Calvin Ridley and DeAndre Hopkins. They are a little bit older, but they're going to take away targets, and Odunze's going to have a hard time breaking out in his rookie year if that's the case. If he does go to the Titans, we still think he's a fantastic pick at the 108, but no earlier than that. Dak, what about Brian Thomas Jr.?
Brian Thomas Jr., another really exciting prospect. We think the best realistic landing spot for him is the Jaguars. The Jaguars pick at 17, so you're getting that nice middle of the first round draft capital for Brian Thomas. There's not really established weapons there. Christian Kirk is a good slot guy. Gabe Davis they just paid, but Gabe Davis is really just an all-right receiver. Brian Thomas would probably play on the outside and complement Christian Kirk in the slot and Evan Ingram at tight end. And we think he'd be able to grow with Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence is a really exciting quarterback to be throwing him the ball. We think definitely by year 2, year 3, Brian Thomas could grow into that alpha receiver in that offense. That'd be really exciting. We think at the highest he could go at the 109 in your rookie draft, which again is not really that's pretty consensus right now. Him going at the 109, but we don't think he has a higher ceiling than that. The worst realistic landing spot for him is the Pittsburgh Steelers. they would be pretty redundant with George Pickens there. They're pretty similar type receivers. And we don't know in that Arthur Smith type offense if they're going to be able to supply two good receivers fantasy wise. Russell Wilson is also kind of a question mark. There's just a lot of question marks there in Pittsburgh. He could turn into the alpha. George Pickens isn't the most established receiver one there yet, but it all remains to be seen. We just don't like the redundancy that you're getting there with George Pickens already there and everything else that has to do with that. If he were to go to Pittsburgh, he'd probably fall to your 110 in rookie drafts. Not a major fall of him, but we still would like to see other guys probably go above him at that point. Jeff, do you want to talk about Adonai Mitchell?
Yeah, so Adonai Mitchell, we have him. The best spot for him would be the Bills. With this, he'd be getting higher draft capital than if the Chiefs were to take him. The Bills have no target competition besides Dalton Kincaid in that offense right now, as they just traded Stephon Diggs. Josh Allen throws the ball a ton. It's a great offense. Sean McDermott and Joe Brady have something going there with the Bills, obviously. So we really like Adonai Mitchell in this spot. If he were to go to the Bills, we can see him getting as high as the 109. The worst landing spot for Adonai Mitchell would be the Ravens, who also pick in the late 20s. Lamar is not going to be able to supply Andrews, Zay Flowers, and Adonai Mitchell all with enough volume in order to give him sustainable and consistent fantasy production. And if he were to go to Baltimore, the lowest we could see him dropping is to the 112 in your rookie drafts. Dalton, you want to talk about Xavier Worthy?
And so Xavier Worthy's going to be our last player. The best landing spot for him is going to be the Chiefs. This also doubles as the Bills. They're both equally as good, really. But the Chiefs are also very exciting. He'd be a fantastic wide receiver for Patrick Mahomes to throw the ball to. He would have a ton of hype with his speed and Mahomes' deep ball ability. We could see him going as high as the 110 in your rookie drafts. We don't see him really creeping over Brian Thomas, but maybe if he gets that bad landing spot like we talked about. And then his worst landing spot would be just any second round draft pick. We don't want to discriminate against other teams in the second round, but any second round draft pick probably leads Xavier Worthy to more of a second round pick in your rookie drafts. So we hope you learned something from this video. If we did, make sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.